Welcome back, everybody, to the Philly Sports Power Hour with Bill Colarulo. A lot of people's favorite time of the week here on the Power Hour, one of my favorite times of the week, when we're joined by the one and only Mark Farzetta. What's going on, my brother?
It is a ratings bonanza whenever you and I are on, man. The clicks happen. We bring the takes. The people bring their eyeballs, their opinions in the comments. It's always a good time. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Now, I'm not really a conspiracy theorist. I'm not one of these guys who's always like, it's a cover-up. But this Shohei Ohtani crap has me questioning what the hell is going on. You following this, Farzy?
Oh, it's a spicy meatball. Oh, my goodness gracious. It is, like, just because, like, I really like Shohei Ohtani. Like, the guy's awesome as a baseball fan. Like, just love the guy, right? But, like, the minute he became a Dodger, I wished horrible things upon him. So to be able to get this, even if he has nothing to do with it, it's still a nice thing to speculate and take somewhat, well, not at all educated guesses on. But it just seems really weird that this would all go down. You know, shortly after this, he becomes a Dodger, signs a $700 million deal, which is still that's not real money. It's just an insane story. And if it's true the way they're laying it out, then the interpreter is the dumbest man to ever step foot in the world of professional sports. And that's saying something. You know what I mean? The dumbest man in the history of sports to have this cake job where all you have to do is be like, all right, hold on. He says hello. He says hello. Yeah. They're like, oh, tell him I said hello. He says hello as well. And then that's your life. That's your life. That's all you got to do. And you want to bet on sports? Oh, baby.
Not too bad, right? But here's what makes me think that there's more going on here, though, because originally a spokesperson for Ohtani gives the interpreter to ESPN for a 90-minute interview. And then when they're getting ready to run the story based off of the interview, they say, no, we're disavowing everything he said. We're now going to release a statement from an attorney. So what the hell is going on? And I'm hearing all different stories that Ohtani didn't know he was embezzling the $4.5 million. Then there's another story where he actually made the transfer for him to cover his debts. Just doesn't pass the smell test, man.
Yeah, the story where Ohtani looks like the hero, where it's like, oh, my interpreter friend, who I've had since I, was with the Angels, since I came up with the Angels, whatever. I shouldn't say came up with, but, was with the Angels. As I'm just covering his debts, $4.5 million. I'm a hell of a guy, Like, $4.5 million to Shohei Ohtani is less than 1% of $700 million. Like, think about that. You know what I mean? If he actually missed that, credit to him. If you got that kind of bankroll, man, you missed $4.5 million. That's good on you for keeping tabs on it. But it just seems way too insane to me that Ohtani, and this is no inside information, sheer speculation. My gut reaction to the story is, this is only the tip of the iceberg. More is going to come out on this, and the fact that the booking agency, the bookie, whatever, was already under FBI investigation.
Yeah, that's interesting. There's a lot going on.
That's a spicy meatball, my friend.
But Major League Baseball, this is their face. Shohei Ohtani, not only in America, but internationally, is the face of Major League Baseball. They need this to go away.
They absolutely do. I'm sure they're rooting for it to go away. I'm sure the last thing they want is some outside source being like, no, I got the betting slips or whatever, depending on what decade it is, betting slips. But, they got the proof. And I know that was what a lot of people were talking about with Pete Rose back in the day. This is an insane story. If it turns out, betting or not betting on baseball, Shohei Ohtani, obviously it's worse if he bets on baseball. But if baseball still has that ironclad rule about betting on the sport, betting in general, like, I don't think baseball has been as strict as the NFL in recent years on betting. I know everyone will yell Pete Rose, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about more recent with the widespread gambling and different sites being out there and sponsoring Major League Baseball and the NFL and all that. what people need to understand about this is that they will draw comparisons between awful criminal acts. I'm not going to go into the detail beyond that, but I think people could picture what I'm talking about. And gambling. Like assault, for instance, versus gambling. I'm not going to get any more specific than that. And what ultimately matters to the leagues is that when people watch their sport, they think what they're watching, or they know that what they're watching, or are at least very confident in what they're watching, is legitimate. It's not like, look, even in basketball, there was just a scandal. Oh, damn it. Who was it? That was like waving the money sign at the official. Was it Rudy Gobert? I think it was. Waving the money sign at the official that they're getting paid. They're getting paid, and they ended up getting fined. There's enough of that already going around. There's been enough of that even before sports gambling was as prolific as it's become. But the last thing the leagues want to happen is for people to think that what they're doing is illegitimate, because that's where you'll really start to lose a lot of your audience, because people can stomach it to a degree. Hate to break the news to these people, with like professional wrestling, you get the elements of that are kind of definitely scripted, whereas the NFL is like, oh, is it? No, not really. Maybe. That stuff gets debunked all the time. But the minute they think that what they're watching isn't something legitimate, it's something that's cooked, that's when people will really start to bail.
So completely off topic, you just mentioned professional wrestling. So now that I have Peacock, because I had to get it for the playoff game.
Yeah.
I've gone down this path because WWE is on Peacock. Now, I don't watch wrestling anymore, but there's all these documentaries that you could get on the WWE portion of Peacock. So I watched the Macho Man Randy Savage documentary. I watched the Shawn Michaels documentary, The Rock, Mankind. I mean, like, you name it, I'm going down and I'm reliving when I was in high school and in middle school, seeing these guys. Dude, I love wrestling documentaries, man. I love them. Were you into wrestling back in the day?
The last time I was like into wrestling, like gave a damn, and it was mostly pushed by my brother, who would have people over the house to watch. Like, everyone would chip in $5 for the pay-per-view event, one of those deals. I would watch like Triple H versus The Rock. I was a Mankind guy. I was a Cactus Jack Dude Love, Mick Foley. Meeting him a couple of times was pretty cool. I like the guys that were that really loved their craft, like Mick Foley did, and loved the entertainment aspect of it as well. But like, I grew up in the Ultimate Warrior. I mean, you and I are close to the same age.
Yeah.
Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, Undertaker. I remember when the Undertaker debuted.
Yeah. Watch all the documentaries. Watch the documentaries. Okay. They're fascinating. And there's one on the Undertaker. You could do them all. And then I also start watching like the rise and fall of WCW. How ECW was created. I mean, there's just a lot of good ones. But we digress. Last week it was video games.
Yeah.
Now it's WWE documentaries. But let's talk some Eagles. Let's switch gears. Let's talk some Eagles.
The hell with that. What board games do you like? No, I'm kidding. Go ahead. The Eagles, yes, sir.
Some Eagles talk. So the last time you and I spoke would have been last Thursday. Had they signed Devin White yet? I don't think they had.
No.
You and I were on.
No. And I don't know if your ears were ringing. Friday morning, I was talking about you because I was like, I was just on Philly Sports Power Hour with our boy Bill, Big Bills, and I was on with him. And he's laid out the linebackers, and he mentions Devin White. And he goes, Devin White, a guy who's had injury problems, a guy who was benched, a guy who was high draft pick. His stock is down. And I said, you just described perfectly exactly who the Eagles would sign. And I didn't. Yep. That wasn't a wish. That wasn't a pipe dream. That was just a coincidence. And sure enough, later that day, the Eagles signed, and I started laughing my ass off.
So what do you think about the linebacker room now? So you have Nakobe Dean, they bring in Devin White, you have Ben Van Sumeren, they brought in Oren Burks from the Niners, Zach Bond from the Saints. What do you think's going on with that linebacker room? How do you feel about it?
They're throwing a whole bunch of stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. That's
what they did last year.
Yeah, this seems to be a little bit more than that, because they didn't really start throwing stuff against the wall until training camp. And when they realized what they threw, it was like, oh, this isn't sticking. All right, Zach Cunningham, Miles Jack. Miles Jack wants to kill zombies. Forget about him. Let's move on. All right, Zach Cunningham. There was all sorts of stuff. And Nakobe Dean, you still had Nakobe Dean, this, bright, shiny toy that they were hoping would really work out for him. And then the people that were really questioning whether or not Nakobe Dean could stay healthy, they obviously took a victory lap last year. Not that you should on that, but they did. But for me, this is so splitting hairs, which is funny to say as a bald man. But when it comes to this linebacking room, it was hard to feel worse about it going into last year. So at this point last year, I feel better about this linebacker room than I think I have in a while going into a season. And the season's still months away. But Devin White with his press conference, and look, it doesn't matter. What really matters is on the field. But if we're not going to see that until September, if we're not going to see that until Brazil,
yes,
then
looking for positives.
I'm looking for positive, but I want to see what's legitimate. And the reason I like press conferences, the reason I like watching that stuff, and I think a lot of people in Philadelphia do, if we learned anything through the Andy Reid era, it's that Philly watches press conferences. And I'm listening to this guy talk, and I'm like, okay, look, I'm buying what he's selling. Because I wanted to hear from a guy where it ended up not working out in his final year there in Tampa. I wanted to hear that he needed a fresh start. I wanted to hear that he's got plenty of ball left in him. Yeah. It was out of character last year. He held himself accountable, and he is happy to sign a 1-year prove-it deal. And as far as the money goes, when I saw the first report of 1 year for $7.5 million, I went, that's got to be pretty close to what TJ Edwards got or is TJ Edwards going to be making in this upcoming season from the Bears? And I went and checked the number. It's exactly the same. TJ Edwards is making 7.5. The contract for Devin White is worth up to 7.5. Turns out it's only going to be about 3.5. So that to me is a much better number for what you could be getting back. But look, it's a low risk, high reward move for the Eagles, which you and I preempted the signing with, saying that's exactly what they want. That's exactly what they're looking for. So I like the idea of him being on that prove it deal here in Philadelphia and him being so determined with his versatile play, because he's a versatile player, coming here to Philadelphia and proving that he still has plenty left in the tank.
And I like the move too. And I guess I should maybe put in quotes like the move, because it's a low risk, high reward move. The guy does have all the athleticism and attributes of being a good linebacker in this league, although it hasn't worked yet. Maybe it works with Vic Fangio, new change of scenery and all that.
I'll put it to you like this. I was fully expecting them to re-sign Zach Cunningham, and they could still do it. But I like this more than just re-signing Zach Cunningham. Yeah, put it that way.
But here's my fear. So as much as I am okay with them bringing in Devin White, again, we have a bunch of could-be's. Nakobe Dean could be really good. Devin White could be really good. Zach Bond, can we say could be really good? I guess. I think they're going to use him more as an edge rusher. Warren Burks, probably more of a special teamer. Ben Van Sumeren, we still don't know what we have. So I just don't like that once again, if they don't do anything else, and it's a long offseason, so I'm not putting my final judgments yet. But if they don't do anything else at linebacker, we're going to go in once again with could-be's. And look how that worked out last season. So I still would love to see them do something, and not just in the draft, because I know people are going to comment in the draft. Get Jeremiah Trotter, get this player, get that player.
Cooper,
once again, it would be a could-be, because he's going to be a rookie. He could be good. For once, I want to see them go into a season saying, okay, we know we at least have that guy at linebacker.
I'll put it to you like this, and you could call it semantics, but it's the only thing I would change. And I think you're right. The only thing with Devin White is he has at least been a has-been. And I don't mean like he's a has-been, he's washed up, he's done. I mean, of all these guys, they're all could-be's.
Yeah.
And yes, Devin White could be good, but Devin White could also be good again. I mean, we're talking about a second-team All-Pro. Talking about, Tom Brady doesn't go to Tampa. It's not like Devin White is leading the Bucs to a Super Bowl championship. But he at least has been good in the league. Last year, huge exception. But he at least is I think a has-been that I still think has something left in the tank to help this defense have success.
So my concern, though, is he was an All-Pro. But I think a lot of the reason that he was an All-Pro was because of his ability to blitz the quarterback. It's something he did really well in Tampa. But look at who his defensive coordinator was in Tampa. It was Todd Bowles, who blitzes more than anybody in the NFL, top 3 at least. He's coming to a defense with Vic Fangio, who we know is not going to blitz his linebackers that much. So is his game going to translate here? Is that Pro Bowl or all-pro caliber linebacker that you saw in Tampa a couple years ago going to translate here? We'll see. We'll see what happens. But then you and I also didn't get a chance to talk about the whole Kenny Pickett move, them not making a trade for Justin Fields. I don't know if you've heard my opinion on this, but I'll give it to you after I hear yours. What'd you think about Kenny Pickett and them not making a move for Justin Fields?
It's the Justin Fields move, I feel like would have been almost too much for the Eagles. That like I'm never one to say, well, the starting quarterback shouldn't fear the backup quarterback. Like, have some damn confidence. You know what I mean? Like the whole time, there was an opportunity to potentially bring back Nick Foles under Carson Wentz. And I was like, hell yeah, man, get him back here. And people are like, oh, you can't do that to Wentz. And I'm like, why? You paid him to do a job. Do your job, son. You know. So I don't really subscribe to that much. But when it comes to the quarterback position with Jalen Hurts, they're very similar quarterbacks. Justin Fields has been looked at through his brief career as a guy that a lot of people in Chicago were looking to take that Hurtsian leap from year 1 to year 2, and it just didn't happen. I feel like their games are a little too close. Like Marcus Mariota, there's similarities. Even Kenny Pickett, like people look at Kenny Pickett, he's a mobile quarterback. He's not Jalen Hurts, but he's a mobile quarterback. He can move around in the pocket. He can buy you some time. He can scramble. You know, he's a mobile quarterback. So for me, I think he is close enough to the Marcus Mariota where a guy like Justin Fields would be a little too close to Jalen Hurts, where it might be too much of a carbon copy of the same quarterback. I think you need a little bit of variety there. And bottom line is there's no city more so than Philadelphia that should understand better than anybody that the backup quarterback matters. You need to have a good backup quarterback, not somebody that's going to inspire quarterback controversy or anything crazy like that as the season goes on, but just somebody that you know if they need to come in and take a couple snaps, take a couple weeks for whatever reason, they can come in and hold down the fort. I would have rather of them been able to work out a deal like with Joe Flacco, because I just don't like the idea of giving up picks. Like I would have rather just gone out and signed somebody, a veteran, like they tried to do with Joe Flacco before any of this was news, before Flacco ended up going to, where the hell did he end up? Was it Chicago? Did he end up in Chicago?
I think he's with the Colts, isn't he?
The Colts, that's it. Sorry, yeah. One of the Midwest places. Anyway, I would have rather that happen than have to give up an asset, even though they got a fourth round pick in return. So for me, that was the only thing I didn't like. But I bottom line is, you're telling me Kenny Pickett's on the team. I'm happy that they have a good backup quarterback.
Yeah, and I think the important thing was when you looked at the contracts, because Justin Fields is in the final year of his rookie deal, so they weren't going to exercise his fifth-year option. They would have to do that by May 2nd of this coming year, and you would owe him $25 million in 2025. So there was no way they were going to do that. So really, you'd only have Fields for 1 year. With Pickett, because he was drafted in 2022, right? Am I right on that? Yeah, 2022. You would have him for two more seasons under his rookie deal. So, and I'd like that move better. I'm still not a huge fan of Justin Fields. I've asked this question because there was people when it first happened here on the Power Hour in the chat being like, oh, the Eagles should have taken Justin Fields. And I kept saying, what has he done in his career outside of a few highlight reel runs? Because he did have some highlight reel runs. Yeah. What has he done that we're all sitting here acting like Justin Fields is this great quarterback? And every team in the NFL had the ability to make a trade of a 6th-round draft pick, and they didn't do it. And there are teams who really need a quarterback more than the Steelers or the Eagles, and they wouldn't even give up more than a 6th-round draft pick. So to me, it's where's this love affair with Justin Fields other than the fact that it's a big name? That's what I think is going on.
And Chicago already quit on him.
Yeah.
Like there's no people. It's it happened certainly enough with the Eagles. Talking about the linebackers they threw out there. Like they don't let go of good players. They sure as hell don't get rid of potential franchise quarterbacks.
No, not in this league.
Like the Eagles gave up on Carson Wentz. How'd that work out for the Colts? Oh, not good? You don't say. The Commanders gave up on him. How did that work? Oh, not great? No kidding. Like, they don't give up on franchise quarterbacks that are actually going to be good in the NFL.
Yeah. Hold on. And I got to address this in the chat. So our man Big Chris says, is this dude Hall any good? And then I'm awake. Are you, who's a big fan of the show? I appreciate you being here. Said, yeah, he's legit. But this is what I mentioned earlier in the show. And I apologize, Farzy, for digressing here.
Yeah.
But this is the time of year where when signings are made, people get a little bit too excited. And I'm accused of being overly positive. So this is coming from me, of all people. Tyler Hall, good signing, good depth piece. The guy's played 379 snaps in his career. So the people who come in, oh, yeah, he's legit, great signing, he's going to be a stud. We have no idea. The kid's 25 years old. He was undrafted. He's been in the league for 4 years. He's only played 31 games. So just relax with the, yeah, he's legit and he's going to be great. Depth piece, maybe he turns out to be something. Sorry, I'm lecturing the Power Hour chat. But this is the time, you know what I'm talking about, where every single one-year signing, we're getting the same thing from Oren Burks. I'm hearing people even talk about the new D tackle they got from Penn State, PJ Mustipher, who's literally played 4 games, has 4 total tackles, and I see people who I guess were Penn State fans. Oh, Mustipher's a stud. He's going to be great for this team. We have no idea. We have no idea. Hold on. Do you think Hall's going to have a gold jacket?
I was just going to say, surefire Hall of Famer. If you don't think he's a Hall of Famer, you don't know ball.
You don't know ball. All right, let's talk a little more Eagles for a second. So as we sit here right now, we know there's still a lot to the offseason. We still have the draft. Howie obviously is not finished cooking. He does some work around the draft always. He'll usually do things leading all the way up into training camp. What do you still want to see this team do to really take that next step to be a contender again next year?
I love the addition of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. That's what I was excited about. I have 3 stages of reaction, just to kind of go back to the Tyler Hall thing for a second. I have like the freak out, which is Saquon Barkley. I just was, no, this is incredible, you know. And I have that's a good signing. You know, that's a good sign. That's a good sign. It's a good depth piece. You know what I mean? And then I kind of have the, the kind of like, meh, that kind of thing, right? Now, pretty much everybody else has been like that's a good signing, you know. And then the other, has been more of Tyler Hall. I want to be done with the depth pieces like that. I want to be done with that by the time of the draft. And I think that what you're going to see before the draft, what I'd like to see, is the Eagles get a playmaker on defense. Bryce Huff, I think, could be that playmaker, and I'm excited to see that. I want to see the Hassan Reddick situation over with. Either he's here or he's not. I'm crossing my fingers that there's some kind of restructured deal and he's still here. But I need to see a playmaker, a ball hawk. I'd love to see that in the cornerback position, even if that is the day one of the draft in the first round at 22. If they take someone there, I would love to see that. I think they got right now still decent offensive line depth. When you talk about the idea of maybe Matt Hennessy being your starting right guard, the possibility of maybe Juergens staying at right guard, Hennessy taking over at center, Tyler Steen still being there. They're going to draft an offensive lineman. If I'm betting on it, they do that at 22. But get me somebody that I know is going to know how to use the freedom that Vic Fangio is going to give his defensive backs. Because, and I don't know if we had this conversation or not, but one of the things that stuck out to me about the Dolphins was listening to some of the players before the end of the season talk about the freedom that Vic Fangio's scheme allows, especially if you're a safety or a corner. So Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, I think, knows the parameters of that freedom. And I think that's why he's a good acquisition to come back here to Philadelphia and play. And his versatility, of course. But if you could give me somebody opposite Darius Slay that's also going to have that same understanding from the get-go, whether that's a proven commodity or that's somebody in the draft, that's the next thing I want to see the Eagles do. I think offensively speaking, Howie Roseman has dropped the gauntlet to Jalen Hurts and in a way to Nick Sirianni, saying there's no excuses. Nick, you have a proven play caller in Kellen Moore. Jalen, you have proven assets all around you. No excuses. This is on you now. I've done my job. I still have some to do with the draft. free agency, injuries happen. I'll do my job throughout the season and all that. But this is on you. Defensively speaking, there's more questions. I think we all understand. We all know more questions defensively speaking than anything. The first one is just, is Fangio, is he going to be the guy to get this defense back to 70 sacks? Is he going to get this defense to 50 to 60 sacks without the blitzes, similar to what we saw under Jonathan Gannon in 2022? Is he going to learn how to know how to use the linebackers here? Are your defensive linemen in Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter going to be able to play at a high level like they did through the first 3 quarters of the season? Are they going to be able to continue to carry that into the final quarter of the season? I know everything fell apart. It fell apart on the defensive line too. Are they going to be able to pick up for a guy like Fletcher Cox? So defensively speaking, I want to see that playmaker, the guy that, as we talk about a lot with a good quarterback, a guy that could be that great deodorant to a lot of things that stink. You're going to need that ball hawk corner, a playmaking linebacker, a defensive line that is going to just disrupt the passing game of the opposition. You're going to need somebody to be able to come up and just get you the football, to give you more opportunities with this offense to score. I'd like to think Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is that guy because he was 2 years ago. I'd like to see at least one more that I have confidence in that can step up and make a play when they need that. And I think Howie is going to do that with another could be, and that'll be in the NFL draft.
Yeah, and we'll start doing our draft talk soon. There's some people in the chat who want the draft talk now. And my man, I'm awake, RU, is mad at me because he said I was coming after him. I'm not coming after you. What I'm saying is all these depth piece 1-year deals, some of them will work out. But we can't get overly excited every time a no name is signed. They could work out, but there's a reason why they haven't worked out yet in the NFL. There's a reason why they're signing cheap 1-year prove-it deals. And just like Greedy Williams last year, everybody was all excited about Greedy Williams coming here. I liked his name, but he didn't even make it out of training camp. So you just don't know. Last thing about the Eagles, and then I got a question about Vet Stadium for you. Justin Simmons is a name that keeps floating around right now as potentially being a safety the Eagles would bring in. He's 30 years old, but he has shown he can still play. He was more of a cap casualty in Denver. What do you think about that idea, bringing Justin Simmons and pairing him back with Vic Fangio?
I think he's the only corner in the NFL, or excuse me, only defensive back in the NFL, safety or corner, that has multiple interceptions in each of the last 8 years. So that at least shows you some consistency to his game. Yeah. I talked about that freedom that he has under Vic Fangio. Yes. If you're telling me Simmons or Blankenship, sorry, Reed, I'm going Simmons in this regard. So yeah, I am absolutely doing that deal. And I love that the rumor's still out there. I love that he's still available. And if Howie wants to wow you as much as he has on the offensive side of things, if he wants to do the same on the defense, that's one that would make me feel a hell of a lot better about the very near future of the Eagles.
All right, hold on. We got a question in the chat. Ask Farzy how he feels about Wikipedia if you want a good laugh. What's going on, Farzy? You don't like Wikipedia?
What did Niners Wine do? Oh, Xavier McKinney. Before Xavier McKinney signed with the Packers, he played for it wasn't the Giants. On Wikipedia, I read it on my show. He played for like the Wong Dong Lions or something like that. And I was like, that seems uncalled for. And then Niners Wine was like, Wikipedia is not a credible source. And then said in the chat, he said, Farzy, check again. And it said that Xavier McKinney played for the Philadelphia Farsies. And I'm like,
oh,
all right.
That was switched quickly. Why Niners Wine's hacking Wikipedia now? And hey, listen, in the chat, keep it civil, please. Come on now. We got a nice chat going. You don't have to attack each other. People call each other names and stuff. Come on. We don't need to do that here on the Power Hour. It's all fun. We're all fans. It's good.
Yes,
it's good.
Yes.
All right. Last thing for you, Farzy. Today marks the 20th anniversary of when Veterans Stadium was officially demolished. March 21st, 2004. They brought it to the ground. Very sad day. So I want to ask you, best memory at Veterans Stadium? Because I know you grew up probably going to the Vet just like I did.
Oh, yeah. Well, so when I was born in Ambler, and then I was about 4 or 5. We moved to Rochester, New York for my dad's job, and then we lived in Baltimore for a year. So I was young in Baltimore, maybe 6 or 7. And I would go to Memorial Stadium and I would go to Camden Yards. Now, Camden Yards is still one of the most beautiful ballparks you could go to. My grandfather was an usher for 20 years for the Orioles, right? So I would get seats. He was right behind home plate, and I would sit right behind home plate. Often I'd sit next to like the Ripken family, which was just, amazing. Cal was playing, so I didn't really meet him. But anyway, so my dad, I remember we moved back to Philly. We moved back to the Philly area, and my dad's like, all right, enough of this Orioles stuff. We're going to go to a Phillies game. And I had always, I didn't know anything about the Phillies. I just had a pennant above my bed of the Philly Fanatic. And I think it was from like the 83 World Series team that ironically lost to the Orioles. And maybe that's why my mom had it above. That was the one that was a loser, because my mom was from Baltimore, is from Baltimore. Anyway, so my dad, I went from Camden Yards, Bill, to the Vet.
Yeah, a little bit different.
And I remember looking around and like, this is the team. This was the team I like the Phillies. This is them. Like, I just knew the sentence. I like the Phillies. And I remember Charlie Hayes dropped a foul ball right in front of where we were sitting. And I just remember thinking, this team sucks. But there was something about the mentality of the fans. I was a little kid, but I just remember it wasn't like Baltimore. Like, Baltimore at the time had this kind of like juice box and orange peel mentality after a loss. Like, that's all right, you'll get them tomorrow, that kind of thing. And like Philly obviously has never been that way. So I identified more with the I remember this as a little kid, the Philadelphia fans being so angry at that drop foul ball. And I just remember thinking like, hell yeah, these guys are getting paid that much money. This is BS, And I'll never forget the smell. The first time I walked in Veterans Stadium, I was like, I smell urine. It smells like urine. And then I grew to love that it smelled like urine. Like, it was just the weirdest thing because I attached it to my childhood. I remember going to see Sammy. Yeah,
reminds me of your childhood.
It really, that's the thing. That's a beautiful thing to say. If you know, you know. But I do. There are times where I really miss Veteran Stadium. I was at training camp with my buddy watching T.O. and Donovan and Lehigh. And I remember the Phillies played that night. And it was like, hey, you want to go to Phil's game tonight? And after training camp, we left, hit a sandwich shop, went and watched batting practice in the way upper deck, the 600, 700 level of the Veteran Stadium, and watched batting practice. And I do really miss that stadium. Whenever the anniversary comes up of the demolishing of the Vet, I remember I was in college. I remember I had just started to date a lady, and I remember that morning I woke up and realized it was the Vet was demolishing. I was like, I gotta go, and I left and I went and watched the Vet get demolished.
Yeah, it was a sad day.
It was a sad day.
It was a sad day. My Camden Yards memory, I went with my little league team.
Oh, cool.
We took a bus trip to Camden Yards, and on the way back, a bunch of the coaches.
You guys running low on meth? No, I'm kidding. All right, anyway.
Yeah, well, we took the bus trip, and a lot of people coming back. The coaches are all drinking. Next thing we know, we get back to our baseball field where all of our parents are picking us up, and two of my little league coaches, full-blown fist fight when they get off the bus. That's my memory. Is like, I'm like 7 years old, and the coaches are just going at it, both drunk. I remember people yelling, "You should be embarrassed." So that was my Camden Yards memory. It was a good trip until we got back, and the coaches just lost their mind on the bus. So
they took a little bit of Balmer home with them, did they?
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Well, Farzy, I appreciate you as always, my friend. And make sure you guys check out the Farzy Show every day, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. And you can watch it all day if you're not up that early. So don't worry about getting up early. That's the nice thing about YouTube. Well, I appreciate you, my brother. I'll talk to you soon, my man.
Back at you, homie. See ya.
See ya, dude. Mark Farzetta joining the show like he does every Thursday. And we're talking about Veteran Stadium. So, we end the Philly Sports Power Hour always with a Today in Sports History. And today, March 21st, 2004, Veteran Stadium was brought to the ground. So I was thinking about what my favorite memory was. And for me, I wasn't here for the game you guys are talking about. I can't really remember the Randall Cunningham one. I mean, I was born in 83, so I don't remember that. I don't remember the 1980 NFC Championship game because I wasn't born yet. But for me, my greatest memory at Veterans Stadium was the first playoff game I ever saw there, December 31st, 2000. So it's New Year's Eve. I'm 17 years old. It's really the first playoff game in the Andy Reid era with Donovan McNabb. They played the Tampa Bay Bucks, and they dominated them 21-3. I was sitting up in the 700 level. Every time there was a touchdown, you had to watch your back because people were falling down because they were so drunk. When they would celebrate, they would fall down. I had people landing on me from behind multiple times a game, and I was there with my best friend who has since passed away. So it was just a great, great memory. Tickets fell in our lap that day. So it was kind of like a last minute spur of the moment. We're going to the playoff game. Eagles win big 21-3. Just a great all around memory. Unfortunately, the last Eagles game at Veterans Stadium, we're not going to talk about today because it never should have ended.